Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Hello.
Pat. Oh, how was your weekend?
My weekend was fantastic. As I alluded to last week, I went duck hunting this weekend in downstate Illinois. And I'm glad that I waited till I got home to research this week's show topic because I was right fucking there.
Yeah.
I was in that general vicinity the whole fucking time. And if I had spent hours upon hours researching the Enfield Horror, I would have been very paranoid. But thankfully, I didn't do my homework till the last minute, so the specter of that was not looming over me, and we had a good time. It was something I never did before. Um, Something I had kind of wanted to do actually for a while, like pre-COVID, pre-heart condition stuff. Just I had always my union had a duck hunting trip, and I always wanted to go, and the stars just did not align until this year to go and do it. And I'm glad I did it. It was fun. It was interesting enough, I guess. I'm not going to bore you guys with the details.
Are you going to go again?
Oh, I would definitely go again. Oh my
Oh,
god,
okay.
yeah, yeah, I would do it again. I would do it again under the similar circumstances and under different circumstances. Um, I would go with friends. I would do like a camping thing. What we did, it was a whole weekend trip for me, but it's only because I went to downstate Illinois, which is really like the same distance from like my house to Dayton going going east. It's like
Mhm.
the same distance just going straight south, and I'm still in the same state. So it was an ordeal getting down there. And, it took up the whole weekend because I drove down on Saturday, spent the night, woke up at the butt crack of dawn drove down Friday, woke up butt crack of dawn Saturday, spent all day doing that, and then spent all night enjoying your cam show. And then got up first thing Sunday morning, drove back. So it was a big production, but there's places a lot closer that I could go to. And also, like I said, it was part of my union, and all those guys, like, we all do the same thing, but I didn't know any of those people. So I mean, we were able to like, I want to say, like, I made friends. Like, we didn't really exchange numbers, but when you all do the same thing for a living, like, you can carry on a conversation.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't super awkward and weird. But if I had the opportunity to go with like my in-laws or like Dan from Blue Room or something like that, like, I would totally do that, and it would probably be a lot more fun. So yeah, it was cool. It was interesting. We got three ducks and a goose, and then I made my wife cook one of the ducks. It's the whole reason I wanted to do it, just to kill it and then bring it home and be like, all right, make this into food.
How'd that go?
She did remarkably well.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, we ended up feeding most of it to our dogs, but that's just because like everyone was like, "This is weird."
They
Because like
didn't like the duck?
duck, I mean, how familiar is your palate with duck?
I've had duck
Like,
once. It was all right.
yeah, it's like it's not bad, but it's not. It's like gamey, and it was okay. I should have been hunting cows. You know, we would have been having fucking cheeseburgers and shit. And when keep telling my son when he's old enough, I'll take him out hogging.
Oh,
We'll
Jesus.
go down to Arkansas and fucking slay some pigs. And
Go get you an Ozark Howler.
yeah, didn't come back, have a whole shitload of bacon, you know. But
Yeah, I don't really I don't like eat meat, so it's whatever.
yeah, I'm kind of very careful about posting. I know I sent you that picture, and I was like, "Fuck, I shouldn't have done." Because before I got my hunting license, because the first time I did this, my first time getting a hunting license, I had to take this hunter education course, and one of the things that they teach you in that is don't post pictures of like you with a dead animal on fucking social media, because some
Yeah.
people get freaked out by that shit. So,
People don't
yes,
listen though, especially on dating sites.
well, I'm gonna be honest, like, chicks find this shit sexy. I'm not even gonna fucking lie. Like,
Who?
oh, my wife for one, thankfully. But
Oh,
like, her families are farmers. Like, she's very rural.
yeah.
She like went to college in St. Louis and then moved up to Chicago. But she was born like on a farm in the middle of nowhere.
I gotcha. Country chicks find
Y-
that sexy. I
yeah,
gotcha.
so when we were walking around Cabela's and I was trying on camouflage, like her panties were just fucking soaked, you know? Fucking seriously, which is all right. She saw. I'm posting some of the pictures on social media, but like the pictures of me like in that like waterfowl camo with a bunch of other dudes holding shotguns. She was like, "Oh, I wish I was in that bunker with you guys." I'm like, I bet you fucking were. You know.
You should have been like, yeah, we were all touching each other's dicks. It was hot. Um,
Well, one guy, I don't know if I want to get into this now. One of
uh-oh.
the dudes used to work at O'Hare Airport,
Mm.
and of course, the first fucking thing out of my mouth, I was like, "Have you seen the Mothman?" And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And one of the other engineers was like, "You've never heard of the Mothman?" Like, oh my God. And he starts talking about it. And the guy from O'Hare was like, I don't know what to say. I've been there close to 10 years and I never saw the thing. So it must not like me. Someone was just asking me about this the other day. And I'm like, wait a minute. You just said you never heard of it. And now
Like,
you're
which
saying,
one?
yeah. And I go, I don't know. I've never seen the thing. It must not like me. I'm like, or you're fucking lying. And then it was like dead silent. And that just hung in the air for like 30 seconds. And we all moved on from it. It wasn't like a big thing, me calling
And
the
then
guy
the other
fucking.
engineer in the group that you were talking about it with was like, man, I can't wait to go back home and talk about this on my podcast.
Yeah. So I was going to save that for the news segment, but I'll fucking let it squeak out here. So yeah, it was all good. That was Friday and Saturday. And then yeah, Saturday night, got back to the hotel, took a long ass shower, changed my jammies, popped an edible. And then you had a Skype show with me and Jeff Gregg from the Frogman Festival.
I wouldn't call
So
it a Skype show, but
I mean, it was it was pretty good.
yeah, Jeff was loaded enough. We could have taken advantage of him if we wanted to. Uh,
No, but I mean, so yeah, Frogman Festival. That's coming up first weekend in March.
March 4th.
Yeah, and we've got the Friday night tour, Saturday night after party. We talked about that, and then
Yeah.
something that I didn't know about is that Saturday and Sunday there's going to be a MetaZoo tournament.
Yeah.
So that was huge news to me. Both me and my kid will be playing in it. I mean, they haven't released the details yet, but I'm assuming that it'll work out because they're coming down with me. So,
Sure.
yeah, so come on out and participate in that MetaZoo tournament, and your opponent may just be Dr. X from On Wednesdays We Talk Weird podcast or his son Racer X. So you can,
That's awesome.
yeah, you might go up against one or both of us. It depends. And what else? I got t-shirts in the works, which we'll talk about later. And then also I wanted to mention at the end of March, I had kind of brought this up before, GaryCon. I have been confirmed for Friday, March 24th. I'm going to be running a Dungeons and Dragons game based on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And 7 p.m. Friday, March 24th at GaryCon. Space is limited to 6 players. The 4 Ninja Turtles plus Casey Jones and April O'Neil. And I'm open to running this at Frogman. Like, I know I kind of brought that up before. I should, because the more times you can test run a game, the more you can work out the kinks and shit. But I don't know. That's starting to seem like a really busy weekend. So I don't
Yeah.
know if a D&D game is going to happen. But if
Yeah.
the interest is there, I'll definitely do it. Get at me. But if not, that's fine too. Because it looks like we'll be hanging out. We could be hanging out Sunday now too.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So that was my weekend. How was yours?
I don't like A24 films.
Which one? Which one did you see?
Just any of them, but this past weekend I watched The Lobster.
I wanted to see that. Okay, so I assume from your lead-in that you didn't enjoy it.
I don't like it. No, and I don't like. I haven't watched one yet that I like.
Oh, I gotta me. God, I can't remember them all. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think there's like one in there that I didn't even know was an A24 film, and I really liked it. But I know what you mean. For the most part, they are uh, pretentious junk.
They're not good, and I think that anybody that claims to like them just wants to sound intelligent.
Yeah, Green Knight was garbage. Uncut Gems was good. Lady Bird, I didn't mind.
I haven't seen those.
Um, What else? Yeah, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of stuff there that's got.
I've seen 3, but based on the 3 that I've seen, and 2 of which are touted as, like, the best ones ever, maybe even the best movies of all time, and I didn't like them,
Yeah.
um, it just tells me that I probably don't need to watch anymore too.
Yeah, I didn't like The Green Knight. I didn't Lighthouse. I thought was just so so. Did you see X? I mean, Ty West is you're a big Ty West fan, right? Or
No,
no?
I didn't know X was an A24
Yeah.
movie. Ugh, that turns me off.
Well, we don't want that to happen. Fucking forget I
I
said
thought
that.
I thought I might like that one, and someone's like, "Oh, you should watch that," and I'm like, maybe I will, but now maybe I won't. No, I watched Hereditary and I watched Midsummer, and they're both bad.
Yeah, Hereditary. I didn't dig. Midsummer. I never. I kind of just figured I wasn't going to dig that.
They're both bad.
Yeah.
And I even like watch Midsummer like coming off of a breakup because someone, said that I would really, really like it. I still didn't like it. So they're just slow and yeah, pretentious and and I thought I would really enjoy The Lobster. It was like a running joke between me and my best friend for a long time. She kept telling me she told me to watch it one time. She was like, "It's fucking weird. Just watch. It's weird." And I'm like, "Okay." And it's about like people like that have to mate with each other, not mate with each other, but if you're single and you stay single, instead of staying single, you have to turn into an animal. It's weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's Colin Farrell, right? And if he doesn't find somebody, he turns into a lobster or something, right?
Yeah, you choose your animal. Right. He's
Yeah.
going to turn into a lobster. His brother's there. His brother failed, so he's a dog. So there's a dog there. It doesn't like talk or anything weird. It's just like that's his brother. And like there's some implication that like all of the animals in the world are people who didn't like pass the test or whatever. So
Oh
yeah,
my
so,
god.
so you have to like couple up with somebody and if you don't you turn into a lobster and it's just dumb. I mean, or you turn into an animal. But there wasn't really a lot of focus on that, which I guess is what an A24 film does. But you know, it sounded cool, and then it wasn't. It was so disappointing. So I don't think I'm going to watch them anymore.
I would say this if Pato can make one recommendation, and this is not a horror movie, right? This is one of their dramas. Um, Adam Sandler movie called Uncut Gems, where and I think it's on Netflix, and he plays like a guy with a gambling problem that runs like a jewelry store, and he's like a notorious gambler, and it's like 12 hours in his life, and it's very tense, it's very frantic. It's Adam Sandler in a role that you wouldn't necessarily expect him in. It's a drama, but it's very good. It's there's a lot of action. It's the antithesis of boring. You will literally be on the edge of your seat. Don't get high and watch it because that's the only way you can fuck up watching this movie is if you watch it stoned, because you'll turn it off because it'll be too much for you.
Okay.
It's very like aggressive and tense, and it's a fucking ride. Uncut Gems, and I'm looking at their all their movies right now, and you're right. The rest of them are like fucking Lighthouse. I didn't care about that. Green Knight I thought was fucking garbage. Ex Machina was eh. Lady Bird was okay, but Lady Bird was like, I mean, it's Greta Gerwig. It's like a chick in high school. It was okay. But I know what you mean. Hereditary was supposed to be all that in a bag of chips, and I saw it in the theater. And I mean, there's a couple good shocks in it, but then at the end, you're just kind of like, what the fuck? You know, I hear you.
Yeah, I just haven't found one that I like, and I know there's going to be people that are going to be like, "Oh, watch this," and I'll be like, "Eh."
I did mean to see Men. I just never got around to it. That was another one that came out last year of theirs.
I didn't
And
realize how many movies they've done.
yeah, yeah. Midsummer
Hmm.
was another one where I heard everyone and their mother talking about that, and I just never sat down to watch it.
See, the guy who directed uh The Lobster also did The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I've heard that people say that I would like that one. And I guess it is also an A24 movie, so I don't think I'll like that one still. You know, I still don't think I'll like that one. You know, I listen, I get it. Okay. And like with Hereditary, like, yeah, it's like sad or whatever that that child got her head cut off and like that's shocking to people. I get it. And I love me some shocking horror. Trust me, I love that. That's my bread and butter. But I like really dirty, really gritty, shocking horror. You know, I want to. I have a. I need to feel like I need to wash after I watch one of
Mm.
these extreme movies, and
Hmm.
A24 doesn't do that for me. It makes me feel like I could sit around with my nice Chardonnay with my rich friends, and that's the kind of horror they would enjoy. You
Oh, you
know.
got to turn it into a class thing, huh?
Right, exactly. Well, that's what it is. Let's be honest. You know, that's
Yeah.
who A24 is made for. It's not made for me.
Well, they did The Whale, which I will see at some point because I love Darren Aronofsky. And they also did Everything Everywhere at Once, which is supposed to be actually very solid.
Yeah, people have really been talking that one up.
They did Spring Breakers, Spring Break, with James Franco. You ever see
Okay.
that movie, Harmony
No.
Korine? Oh my
Mm-mm.
god, that was pretty solid. The Bling Ring, that was whatever. Under the Skin, I saw that in the theater. That's with what's her name? The chick with the tits, the fucking
All
Black
right, all right.
Widow.
No clue.
Oh, Scarlett Johansson. Um, Tusk. Oh yeah. Did you ever see Tusk?
Yeah, I've seen Tusk.
Yeah, Tusk is an A24 movie. It's a very, very early A24 movie. And it's kind of the opposite of what you're talking about. Uh, Tusk is not. No one's drinking wine and watching Tusk. You know,
Well, how do you know, Pato?
because you're drinking Mad Dog 2020 from a convenience store, from the Quick Stop. Um, yeah, I'm not arguing with you. I completely agree with you. It's not my cup of tea either. If you give me the choice between The Witch or fucking Class of Nukem High Part 7, I'll take Class of Nukem High 9 times out of 10.
See, people have recommended The Witch too. I heard terrible things about that movie.
Yeah, I was not a huge fan of it. I saw it in the theater too, like at the premiere, because I used to have friends that worked for the AV Club, and they got me into the critic screening of it with the director and everything, and I was I was like, what the fuck? I was drunk and belligerent and was not what I cared for, you know.
Well, anyway, I didn't do much. That's what I did this weekend.
And you had a cam show on Saturday.
No, apparently I had a camp show on Saturday.
I mean, you were on Zoom.
My my wallet disagrees with you, but yeah. So that's yeah. Anyway, that's what I did. Yeah, Pato's right. Frogman Festival is coming up. You definitely want to be there. So, Pato and I are doing tours of the area. We don't know the details yet of these tours, but we will be there doing them. Or
Yeah,
one,
this
or
is.
5. Who knows? Nobody knows yet.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a little bit of. We're gonna have to put our noggins together and strategize on this one, but it's. I mean, this is like. I think I mean I knew that this was coming, and the call Saturday night was definitely like a little bit of a wake up call. Like that. This is what. I mean, first of all, I think for the next every episode between now and then, when you ask how my weekend was, there'll be some mention of this because this is all I'm going to be working on between now and then. Is the festival, getting the stuff ready for it, getting the t-shirts ready, getting the merch ready, preparing for the tour and making sure that is as good as possible, and also like GaryCon too. But like those are the two things that like that's my life now. I'm sorry, I'm drinking a Monster, so I'm kind of burping, but dude, that's my life. You know, that's
Frogman,
all.
Frogman is your life.
Yes, everything, all energies are directed in this direction. All roads lead to this. This is the big thing that's happening. This is what's coming up. You know what I mean? This is what I'm going to be spending January and February working on. Because when March 1st hits, we're there. It's happening.
Yeah,
So
pretty much right. And February is already a short month, so we're getting I think this year. I don't know if it is or isn't this year. But yeah,
It
that's kind
always
of
is. It's 28. Well, it's 28 days. Sometimes it's 29, but it's still relatively short. I don't think it's a leap year.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, buy your tickets for that because you want to be there. I mean, at minimum, even if you don't do the tour, which you should absolutely do the tour if you're going, you might as well. Um, once we release tickets for them, you can buy those. Buy your ticket to the festival itself. I think it's just frogmanfestival.com. I think. I don't know.
Or go through the Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you can find it there. So, want to talk about some news?
Sure.
You want some news? The only thing that I really wanted to talk about this week is the UAP report that everybody's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
um, so the government, they released their annual UAP report, which had significantly more reported sightings on it, which means that people are reporting. Now, these sightings that are reported aren't like civilian reports. These are reported via, military officials, government officials, things like that. But it's not like I can just go and call the government and go, hey, I want to report a UFO. Doesn't work that way. But there were over like 500 reports, and of those 500, only like I think it was like a little over 100 were officially unidentified, and not just unidentified, but like particularly unusual. Um, so the only thing I'm going to say about it, really, well, I'm okay. This is the only thing I'm going to say about it. But what I will say about it is that we didn't learn anything new, just like we never do. So that's my take on that. It's not, it's not very exciting to me. I don't get what all the fuss is about. But maybe that's just because I'm standing too close to the topic to care about it. I don't know. But there's nothing groundbreaking. There's nothing fantastic, that came out of these reports. So, I've said it from the beginning, and I'll say it again. This has happened already with Project Blue Book. That's all this is. And guess what happened from that? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where we're at still, I believe. What do you think, Pato?
Yeah, I think anytime they release a bulk of documents like that, people get excited because they think of what could be in there.
Yeah.
And it's not until you take the time to go through it, which never happens overnight. Like the second this wad of files hit the internet, I'm sure people started going through it, but they didn't go through the whole thing at once. It'll, if anything's in there, it'll trickle out in the next week or so, and we'll go from there. But
Oh, it's been out for it was out last week when we did the show.
yeah.
So people have gone through the whole thing. It's been touched on. There's nothing fantastic about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing remarkable. Now there are people that are like, "Oh my god, we found this thing that says that on this date and time a pilot saw this thing that moved weird." And it's like, "Okay, we already know that though."
Yeah, it's the fact that there's continued ambiguity about some of the sightings. Not everything they didn't come up with bullshit explanations for everything. There was
Right.
some stuff that couldn't be explained, but like you said, that's what we know. like
Right.
we're in the camp where we already know these things are UFOs, and it doesn't take a report saying that they can't be explained to something else to confirm to us that these are extraterrestrial or something. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, now the question anymore shouldn't be, are there aliens? Well, yeah, of course there's aliens. Of course there are. Of course, it is so big outside of planet Earth. Of course, there's aliens. Are they visiting us? And if they are, why? And if we are implying that that's what those things are, and we are implying that that's what these unidentified craft are, well, who or what are they? I mean, those are the questions that I would need answered to get excited. I don't care about these unidentified, aerial phenomena. I don't care about that part, and I don't think anybody should anymore.
Right. Well, like you said, the only new ground to cover at this point is for them to put forth theories or explanations, which they're not doing.
Right.
All
Right.
they're just doing is confirming that it's not Venus, it's not swamp gas, it's not a weather balloon, it's not terrestrial aircraft that was misidentified.
Right.
And we know that there's stuff out there that isn't that, but what is it? And until you go on the record and you start making those kind of hypotheses, then it's nothing new. It's nothing to get excited
Well,
about.
until they go back and bring back up the fact that they fucking at the beginning of all of this were like, there are unidentified aerial phenomena, and on top of that, we have debris from these things that are none of this earth. That's what they said, none of this earth. The Pentagon said we have debris of these things. Tell us what the fuck that debris is, my guy. Like, that's what I want to know about. And that's just not, I guess it's never going to come, it's never going to resurface. And nobody ever talks about that anymore in the UFO community, which is weird because that wasn't like some weird conspiracy made up bullshit that somebody said, well, so and so said this and that. And I heard from my uncle that works at the Pentagon. No, this came from the Pentagon, was reported on mainstream news, and nobody ever talked about it ever again. What the hell's up with that shit? I mean, that's what I want to know about.
Yeah.
But maybe, I guess, I don't know, I'm the minority. Again, maybe I'm just standing too close to the topic for it to be that exciting. But, yeah, the report's out there. If you want to read it, read it. Cool. You're not going to learn nothing that you don't already know if you listen to this show. So that's all I had. That's all I had for the news. Those got some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I'm going to start. I mean, we could talk about this off air, but I really like compiling this stuff. And I think that this will be maybe something that I put more effort into going forward. So piggybacking off of what you just said about UAP stuff, there was a sighting in downstate Illinois. And I sent you the link to the video. And this happened on January 9th of this year. So, just about a week ago, a father and son duo from Champaign County, Illinois, had a once-in-a-lifetime experience when they spotted a UFO while on their way home. The unidentified flying object was first noticed as an unusually bright object in the night sky, approximately 5 to 10 miles from their location. At first, the object appeared quite high in the sky, estimated to be between 50,000 and 100,000 feet. I have no idea how they came up with those numbers, but it seemed to be hovering in place. As the father and son watched, the object suddenly teleported from its previous altitude to a much lower one with no apparent light trail, estimated between 1,000 and 2,000 feet. Realizing that they had witnessed something that needed to be investigated further, the father deviated from their route home and headed towards the object location. So the video, which I'll post from the Twitter account, and I retweeted from my own personal account, Dr. X 2112 at Twitter. It's worth checking out, and it's kind of this obviously given also in very close proximity to where I was this weekend. I drove right through Champaign County. That caught my eye, and then also because it's not a bad video visually. You really do get a sense of how this object looks and kind of the shape of it and its movement. And I feel like you don't always get that a lot from videos.
I agree. And usually it's just a dot.
Yeah, this one, you can really get a sense of something there. I do have to say, however, that the kid is annoying as fuck. And I get that. I think that to me adds a layer of authenticity because it is not very well scripted. He doesn't sound cool. He sounds panicky and freaking the fuck out. And I think that while that does add an element of realism to it, it also makes it kind of like unlistenable. So just watch it with the sound off, or just be prepared to turn the sound down, because that definitely gets annoying after a while. But other than that, it's a pretty good video. What'd you think of it?
I mean, the way it looks is good, but I disagree. I think that the sound on it is very telling that it's not real. Because when you couple like the sighting itself with the video, right? They talk about, oh, it teleported and then they went and followed it. Okay. So then the video starts up after it had teleported, and then,
right.
So you don't see that happen. So it's while they're following it, but he's talking to the driver, which I'm presuming is the father based off of the encounter. He's talking to his father, and he's like, there's UFO, what is that? I mean, it's like, it's like he just noticed it, and then like they're just repeatedly like, I don't know, very fake. What is that? What is that? Aliens are real. I mean, it's so dumb, and it sounds like it sounds like a kid that's not cool anyway in regular life, and he can't act, and he's trying to act very badly.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm skeptical of that.
I I ain't gonna shit on them too hard, except to
It
say
seems
like,
so unnatural.
but once again, what would natural sound like? I don't know. And I think what would natural sound like to somebody who's not you, like, or somebody that's not one of us or our listeners?
Right.
Um, what would your average Joe in Champaign County, Illinois, which is not a major metropolitan area,
Right.
what would some backwater fucking kid?
Well,
I don't know. To me, it's like it's not. It doesn't discredit the video to me, because the other thing too is that I don't necessarily see how they would have faked this. It doesn't look like a CGI effect. It very much looks like what they claim to have witnessed. I don't. The video itself doesn't smack of After Effects or something like that. Like, it looks pretty legit. So, I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. It's worth checking out.
Like I said, visually, I think it looks good. It's not even like the middle of the video. It's not like when they're freaking out. It's the very beginning of the video raises red flags for me. If they had already been following this thing and already been discussing it, why in the beginning of the video is he explaining to his dad, and his dad is acting like he's shocked that, I didn't know this was happening, even though we've allegedly saw it teleport and we've been following it for a couple of minutes. Like, that part seemed weird. But like I said, the actual video itself looked pretty good. So I'm torn on it. I don't know. It's just a weird reaction, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know. So I want to bring up that, and then I had two stories about ocean stuff. One is that they in Japan they found a. I'm sorry, I'm not. This is taking me a minute here. They
Wow.
Japanese divers shoot a rare video of a giant squid swimming along the coast. Um, the squid was about 2.5 meters long,
Oh,
and they filmed it for about 30 minutes. They said that creatures have been spotted several times along the sea of the Japanese coast, but it's rare to have images of one swimming. And there's a really good video of it. And I like looking at giant squids.
I want to
So
see that.
yeah, I thought this video was interesting. I'll share it from our Twitter account. Um, and then also, keeping with aquatic abnormalities, the most extreme rogue wave in mankind's history was confirmed. It was a couple years ago. It was in November of 2020. This freak wave came out of the blue, lifting a lonesome buoy off the coast of British Columbia, 58 feet high. And because it's not the highest that a rogue wave has ever gotten, but it's the highest that it's ever, the most extreme in comparison to the waves around it, right? Something like this mathematically is projected to happen about once every 1,300 years. And it took a couple of years, obviously, for scientists to verify all the data. So this isn't the tallest rogue wave of all times. I could pull up the info on what actually that is, but it is the tallest in comparison to other waves around it, right? And rogue waves are basically when out of the so the highest rogue wave was 85 feet, which hit an oil platform off the coast of Norway. All right, so this is about 30 feet short of that, but all the waves around it were tiny, right? So in comparison to the waves around it, this was the biggest one that they've ever measured. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That does
So
make sense.
once again, I find ocean stuff terrifying and interesting.
Yeah.
So
Another reason to not live by the water. Yeah, I agree.
stay the fuck out of the water. So there's giant squids on there, and big ass waves come out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
And with the amount of monitoring we do with buoys, we can monitor like ocean currents and how stuff goes. I don't know, man. I stay out of the fucking water. That's all I gotta
Yeah.
say.
Just don't go there. Right. It's not good. It's not a good place to be.
It's not our native terrain. And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up was a duo of Anomalous winged creatures with red eye sightings in the Chicagoland area. Reported on Tobias and Emily Whalen's singular14.com website. The first one was from a father and daughter reported seeing a thin black winged figure with eyes that were glowing bright red in Chicago's Little Village area. This happened back in October of last year, but it was only reported the first week of January. And it was father and daughter were leaving a grocery store on 32nd Street, and they heard a strange sound. They looked up, and there was a thin black figure perched on the brick fence post listening directly at us. And then, of course, it did its thing and flew away. And then, keeping with the O'Hare thing, there was another O'Hare sighting at the end of 2022, Thursday, December 29th, but once again wasn't reported till just this week, actually, where a firefighter claimed to see a it's interesting. They call him a Batman, which I've never heard that referred to before. Most like people call it Mothman, but in this article they refer to it as a Batman figure, which is kind of interesting. And this was reported by a 10-year veteran of the Chicago Fire Department who had been stationed at O'Hare Airport for the last 5 years and was in the military before that. And he claims to have witnessed something in the middle of the night. It was really fucking cold that week. That was when that cold snap came through. And yeah, he saw something one night when he was at work. Now, we brought this stuff up before because both of these stories came from anonymous witnesses reported to the same guy, Manuel Navarrete, a Melrose Park native who looks like he might be a 911 dispatcher or something. But he's got a website called UFO Clearinghouse, and that's where the majority of these Chicagoland Mothman sightings are coming into, his website. So, and I know we've kind of brought that up in the past, that's a little suspect because no one else is getting reports on these things, only this dude.
Yeah.
But I kind of stalked him on Facebook a little bit. And he looks to be a 911 dispatcher. I don't know if that lends credibility to him or not, but it would kind of make sense. I mean, maybe he works weird hours and I don't know. He's around or he sees shit or something, or because he's a dispatcher, he hears a lot of stuff from first responders. It's interesting to see if there's a connection there with that. But going back to something I said in the intro, I was in a hunting pit, duck hunting pit, with a guy that worked at O'Hare for like almost 10 years. And when I asked him about it, he said that he didn't see anything and didn't know what I was talking about. And then 5 minutes later said he's sick of people and asking him about it. So what does that tell you? Either he's heard of it and he was keeping his mouth shut, or he hasn't and he just gets asked a lot and they know not to say anything or whatever, And I shared it to I shared the Singular 14 article on my Facebook page today, once again, trying to get people to come forward if they have stories, and nothing so far. So I don't know. I mean, there's no shortage of reports, but I just and I don't want to act like I'm plugged in to where I know everybody in Chicago, right? But I know a lot of people that work at O'Hare. Or not a lot, I guess. I know like a half dozen, right? And nobody has ever told me anything or come forward with something. So either they're all like scared for their lives and scared into silence, or it's just not fucking happening. And the fact that all the reports that are coming in are coming through the same dude, maybe that means something, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know how much of my like energy I want to direct towards. This is more of a you thing. But I know this is like your deal, right? Like, and I'm just like, I don't even know if I really want to get into this, but
well, you're allowed to have opinions about things.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. What do you think? Like,
sure.
Do you want to talk about this, or I don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just waiting for you to stop talking. You said a lot, Pato, but thank you.
Story of my life, right?
The Mothman name actually derives from Batman. That's where the name comes from. Witness during the Ohio River flap, I guess, One of them, that's how he described this creature that he saw on the roof, was he saw Batman on the roof. Well, they couldn't print Batman in the headlines. So an Ohio reporter printed Mothman, and that's how the name came to be. So Batman isn't unusual for Mothman. Um, just as other names aren't as well. So that's an interesting fun fact there for you. Also, yeah. So you've probably seen me post on social media trying to find people that just work at O'Hare Airport. I mean, just work there, and that has proven to be not successful at all. Because I am also very, very skeptical about the reports coming out of there. It just seems so unusual to me. I don't. I think it's weird. I understand people wanting to remain anonymous. Some of these people, though, it doesn't make sense for them to remain anonymous. Some people do. Some people, it's like, okay, you're a postal worker, or you have actual, like, some type of job at the airport, or what have you. They all don't, though. It is really weird, because when I talk to people that witness strange things, I got plenty of people that are more than happy to share their name, to come on the show, to talk about it themselves. They're not wanting to hide their identity.
Yeah.
Sometimes people do, but most of the time they don't. So the fact that every single time, every single one of these things, every single one of these reports is anonymous is strange. The fact that they're only coming from one person. I've never personally taken a Mothman encounter from the airport area, from Chicago at all. So I think that's odd. I think that maybe it started and maybe there were reports of people seeing something. I don't think they're as abundant. I'm not going to straight up call the guy a liar or that he is fabricating these sightings. But
Yeah, when I found him on Facebook, I thought about reaching out to him, but I thought, what am I? All I really want to ask him is, are you making this shit up? So, like, and you
I
can't
was going to say
ask
no,
some.
right?
Right, exactly. You're not going to. Not only is that like insulting, but that asking that
Right.
question is literally a waste of everybody's time.
It
So
is.
I thought, okay,
I
now
agree.
how do I approach this? Do I ask him to come on the show? And then when he's on the show, do we poke holes in him? Which I probably shouldn't be saying right now on the show if we ever do get him. But like, I'm like, I don't know what to do, so I just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I think
So
the only thing I can do is try to find other sources that can corroborate this somehow. There's gotta be.
right, somebody that's not related to him whatsoever.
Right. There's got to be
Yeah.
somebody, even if it's like, yo, I used to bang a chick that worked in that was a front desk agent for Southwest, and she said this, and I can't even find that. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Or like flight, how many flight attendants? I know more flight attendants actually than you would suspect. I know a handful of flight attendants. Nobody. No one's got nothing. I know people that used to be baggage handlers. No one's got nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like, and that's all I think I can do is just try to find somebody to say, no, I've heard, for like, even if it's secondhand, not even firsthand encounters, like, and so far nothing. And as long as we've been working on this for like a year plus, I've been trying to drum up interest from people,
Yeah.
locals.
O'Hare employs well over 10,000 people. Okay.
Right.
And we can't find not anybody, not one single person to come and talk to us. Not even, I don't even want to hear that you have seen Mothman. That's not even the question at this point. It's just, what the fuck are people talking about there?
You
about
drank
it?
at a bar next to somebody who had a fucking story to tell, and I can't even find that. Like,
Right.
that's what's so crazy.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
you can't, there's nothing anywhere at all that is connected outside of this one person where all of these
Right.
reports are coming out of. And the only thing that I can go off of is like, I trust Tobias Whalen, and Tobias knows him, and Tobias works with him, on these reports. And, but I'm only going to disclose so much, but, I trust Tobias's judgment on that. Okay. So I'm giving the guy the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going
I
to
do
outright
too.
say that
Yeah.
these are fake. I just personally, I need to see something else, something more than what is being presented. And I think that's fair. I don't think that
Mhm.
that's incorrect. I think that I am due that information as well as everybody else is due that information. So I'm skeptical when the report came out that supposedly those people back in when was that? I don't remember when that was. I think that was last year. People had recorded like 3 or 4 different Mothmen at the airport, and then they were taken by security, and they made them delete the footage. And when that story came out, I was like, okay, hold on now. I wasn't skeptical until that happened. That was too much. I think that story was bullshit. Now, whether or not somebody reported that story and they're just reporting what they were told, or it was made up entirely, I don't know. But I think that story is complete and utter bullshit. I don't think that's real at all.
Mhm.
That doesn't even make it. Why would the government cover up Mothman? Why? Why didn't they do that back in the 60s? They didn't. Why don't they do it any other time? They don't come knocking on my door, and I've seen the motherfucker. So, what's the deal there? Um, it's not. I mean, they don't come and threaten me. Don't make your documentary. Don't write your book. They don't care. They don't give a shit about Mothman. Why would they care all of a sudden? They wouldn't, you know. So I don't know. I'm very, very, very skeptical of it. Of course, I want the sightings to be real. That helps my career if they are. Um, but I need something more. I'd be bad at my job if I just took it at face value and said, "Well, because that guy said so." This guy I've never met before, never talked to, don't know anything about. Yeah, I just trust what he says. I can't do that. I can't honestly do that.
Yeah,
So
I live here. I would love nothing more than for all this stuff to be true, and I love the little local flavor details that get sprinkled in here, but they all seem somewhat redundant. As a local, I can't help but notice some of the things that just keep rhyming, and you know, this thing
yeah,
seems to hang out in Mexican neighborhoods too. Like I don't know what that's all about, but that unless it's all over the place, and those are just the reports that are coming in, like I know the geography here, and I don't know, bro. We'll see.
yeah, seems a little sus, as the kids say, little sus. I don't know. I'll keep pushing it though. I'll keep pushing out my little Mothman or not my O'Hare airport call out. Again, I just want to talk to people that work there. Whether they know anything about it or not, I just want to talk to people that work there. Just want to know
Yeah,
what they say about it.
and if you have like if you slept with somebody that fucking had a story once, like let us know. 77359 weird. Like I don't necessarily need all the details. I just want some other source to come from somewhere besides this one place.
Yeah. Yes.
Something. You knew a girl that worked there, or you knew a guy that worked there, or you worked there, and or your cousin got you a job, or you were at Thanksgiving fucking 7 years ago when your uncle said this and whatever.
Just
Like
whatever, right? Something.
right. I got one
you
more
know.
one more
Oh, go
bit of
ahead.
news that I'm throwing together at the last minute. So it seems that Peacock and A24 are collaborating to put together a Crystal Lake TV show for the Peacock Network that's going to be about Jason as a camper, and that's coming soon. So,
I heard about the Crystal Lake show, and you know what? I
what an
was down
A24
for it.
approach to this story. Talk about the special needs kid that would one day be
Oh,
Jason, not Jason. The special needs kid that would one day be Jason. That's
oh
very
my
A24
god.
approach.
Right. Now, like I said, I was kind of like, okay, I could jive with that. The Chucky show's done okay. It's all right.
Yeah, it
But
has. But
I'm not happy now
yeah.
about that because I don't like A24. We've established that. So it's fucking bullshit, man.
I could see them sucking all the fun out of Friday the 13th. Chucky is, I mean, I think that's a different franchise that was in a different place that took
Oh
itself
yeah.
a different level of serious. And I think it's beautiful how it's become like the queer horror flagship title thing. Like I don't, however that happened, I think that's a beautiful, beautiful fucking thing. Um, they're not going to do that with Camp Crystal Lake. I don't know.
No.
You know, I'll
No,
reserve
it's gonna
judgment
be
to see.
bad.
Yeah,
We'll see. Anyway, okay, let's get on with the show's
sure.
topic this week. Pato, what'd you know about the Enfield Horror before all this?
You know, I knew you were going to ask me that. Um, I knew it was from downstate Illinois, and I knew that it was had a unique design because it was part of our um, aborted Dungeons and Dragons cryptid thing, and it's got the three legs or whatever. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. But and I remember the kangaroo thing from when we had what's his name on, uh, Mr. Robin Van Huss, who talked about it when they were on. But I guess I didn't know a whole lot about the specifics of the story, or how there was multiple sightings over in that area.
Hmm.
Or there's different stories from over the years. So,
Well, same. I really didn't know too much about it either. Actually, and I don't know why. I think maybe I got it confused with something else. I thought this was like a ghost story. I
hmm.
didn't really understand that this was a creature or that there was some type of other high strangeness involved with it. Maybe that's because I've read it somewhere. Because I know the first time I had ever read about it, I believe was in one of Keel's books, but I can't remember which one. And that checks out that he probably did talk about other strange happenings that went along with it. But when I was researching it for the show, I didn't find any reference to anything like that. So except for like maybe potential UFO sightings in the area, but like there's always UFO sightings. So can you tie them together? Maybe, maybe not.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, it is an interesting story, and I do have a pretty good theory about it actually. So in April of 1973, Henry McDaniel, I almost said McDonald. Henry McDaniel and his wife came home to their lovely children who were fucking petrified. They had reported that something was trying to get into the house. And Henry, being the manly man that he is, he just thought that it was probably some weird animal, a stray animal. So he opens up the door, and lo and behold, there's a strange creature on his doorstep. And I will read you the description that Henry gave it. He said it had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It stood 4.5 feet tall and was grayish colored. And then he said it was trying to get in the house. So he goes and grabs his gun and a flashlight and goes outside and shoots at the thing. Says he shot at it 4 times. He knows for a fact that he hit it at least the first time. But in just 3 leaps, it sprang away about 50 feet away to the train tracks that are near his house. Um, this wouldn't be the only time that he saw this thing. He did see it again on the night of May 6th. It woke him up. Well, he was woken up in the middle of the night and he looked out the window and it was out there, but he didn't shoot at it this time. He just kind of let it do its thing and then went out to bed, I guess. Now, there was another story that had predated this one just by a couple of days where a 10-year-old child said that he was attacked by this thing. As a matter of fact, it had like claws on its feet and ripped up his tennis shoes. However, that kid later recanted his story and said that it was just a hoax, that he did it to mess with Henry, because he just thought he was being a weird, crazy old guy. And yeah, but it's weird because like not a lot of people admit to that. Some people kind of pass that story off as legit. And who knows? Maybe the kid recanted it for other reasons, but
Hmm.
um, he did eventually say it was a hoax. Now, some of the things that were intriguing found at the scene of the crime where this happened were there was scratches found on the door and on the siding of the house. And then there were these very strange footprints that were found. So they were very canine like, except they had 6 toes on them instead of 4. And there were 2 prints that were the same size, and a third one that was like the other 2, but significantly smaller. So implying that this thing's third leg maybe is significantly smaller for whatever reason. Um, but yeah, so I mean, Henry reported it to the police. They did not believe a word that he said. They were like, "This is crazy." As a matter of fact, it started getting out of hand. The media got involved. People were, coming to this town, which is, I guess Enfield, Indiana, right? We didn't mention that part, but it was in Indiana. So people are flooding the town. They're going on these monster hunts.
Enfield in Illinois.
Oh yeah, Illinois. Did I say Indiana?
There was a tangent sighting in Kokomo, Indiana.
That's why.
Yeah, but the original one, Enfield, is in Illinois, which is, like I said, it was right where I was at.
That is right where you
It
were
was like a
at.
half hour northeast of where I was at this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So people started flooding the town. And the sheriff didn't like that. The local sheriff was like very upset. He thought that this was all nonsense. His name was Sheriff Roy Poshard Jr. He actually threatened Henry to stop. He told him to stop talking about this, and that if Henry didn't stop talking about this, he was going to quote incinerate him. He said
Whoa.
that to him. Yeah, and I don't know if it's because he was just annoyed because like now all of a sudden they had all these tourists in their tiny town, or I mean um that was never really expanded upon aside from the fact that like it is pretty well known that he was threatening Henry and told him to stop talking about this thing. That was weird.
Mm-mm.
But they weren't very kind to the people that came out and were looking for this thing. As a matter of fact, they had arrested 5 men one evening for shooting their guns off and being disorderly. But the men were like, they're like, oh, you're just drunk and you're being fucking trigger happy. And the men were like, well, no, we were shooting at this weird gray thing. And they were like, oh, sure you are. Two of the men, Mike Mogul and Roger Tappy, both described the thing that they were shooting at as a gray monkey.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And then also the night of May 6th, that was the second time that Henry had seen this thing. Local director of the radio station, close by, WWKI, Rick Rainbow, took 3 friends out there to go hunt the creature. They saw the creature. They didn't catch any actual evidence of it. However, they did catch a recording of the sounds that this thing was making. And so there was that. At that point in time, a little bit after that, famed cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman, we all know Lauren. Lauren was
Yeah.
very, very close to this case. He went and investigated it. He saw the scratch marks and did all that. And I took a quote from Lauren who says, I traveled to Enfield, interviewed the witnesses, looked at the sighting of the house the Enfield monster had damaged, heard some strange screeching, banshee-like sounds, and walked away bewildered. So Lauren got to hear that tape from Rick Rainbow, the screeching, and I desperately tried to find it, but I could not. As a matter of fact, I reached out to one of the folks that works at the International Cryptozoology Museum, really close with a guy named Nate Brislin, and I reached out to him and I asked him about it. I said, hey, I'm trying to find this Rick Rainbow recording of the Enfield Horror. Has Lauren ever talked about that or found it, or because he listened to it? And Nate disclosed to me that he was actually talking to Lauren about it sometime last year, and Lauren just kind of just was like, whatever, I don't know. I tried to find Rick Rainbow, I couldn't. But yeah, it's kind of a bit of like lost media now. Like you can't find that recording, so who knows what it sounds like. I mean, but Lauren seems to think that the screeching that he heard and the screeching that was on Rick's tape were the same thing. So yeah, that's like the bulk of what happened.
Yeah, it's kind of like a one-off. There was something similar. You didn't talk about the Mount Vernon
I didn't.
creature, which is closer to where I was actually at, but less than 40 miles away from Enfield. And these encounters involved a mysterious leaping beast that terrorized the local people, was supposedly responsible for numerous animal deaths and mutilations in the region. The locals call the creature the Mount Vernon monster, and it's described as being vaguely baboon-like in appearance and able to leap anywhere from 20 to 40 feet in a single bound. However, the creature is likened more to the devil monkey than the Enfield monster, but it's a possibility that it was, in fact, the same creature. So I guess there are apes that have been known to be in that area, which is kind of
What do you mean?
so where did I see that? something where there's like there's I had seen something somewhere, and of course I can't find it now. That there were um
Okay, well, you're looking for
maybe I
that.
misspoke. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to do it. I know that there was the kangaroo. Did you talk about the kangaroo thing? Some people thought that he saw a kangaroo because someone had lost a kangaroo in the area, and okay, here we go. A few days after the event, United Press International quoted an anthropology student who suggested that the creature may have been a wild ape, noting that such animals have been reported throughout the Mississippi area since 1941. So there's no further backing of that, which
Right.
seems kind of crazy to me. Like really apes, but I don't know, man. I mean, that's part of the country. Like if you look at like what the geography is like it's definitely wooded. It's not heavily populated. You're right along the Mississippi River. I mean, I drove down there and I was in the middle of nowhere, and it was plenty of woods and plenty of like I don't want to say swamps, but like marshy area. I mean, that's where I was duck hunting. Was in the It was like corn, but water, like like a foot of water. You know what I mean? But it's
Well,
still
when we did the
grasslands and shit.
Florida episode, we talked about how Florida has allowed multiple wild populations of monkey.
Yeah. So and it's a good 10 degrees warmer down there too than like it is in Chicago. So I was like constantly looking at the weather preparing to go down there this weekend, and it's far enough south to where it's a definitely a different climate region than most of the Midwest. So it is fairly warmer than what
Yeah.
we're used to up here. Now, does that mean that it's going to have a completely different like ecological system? Like, I don't know. Does it mean that there could be like apes running around or some shit? Like, I'm not enough of a zoologist to know that. But I guess it had to be something, right? And if
Well,
it,
there's no known population of apes anywhere in the country living naturally out in the woods. Now, animals do escape, right? Exotic pets have escaped. That happens. It doesn't happen as often as people think, especially not these days. You can't let that shit happen. But it does happen. We had here in Ohio. Well, phantom kangaroos are a big thing here. Um, and they're kind of a big thing everywhere. But we had a couple months ago on the show, we talked about those kangaroos that were loose in Ohio. And it's not like people were just randomly seeing kangaroos. Like people were seeing kangaroos and there's pictures of them. And like the whole city was trying to catch them. And, they never did catch those things. Who knows where they're at now? And that happens a lot. At the height of the pandemic, while everything was locked down, um, in Cincinnati, there were sightings of like chimpanzees. And like particularly like a big hotspot that a lot of reports came in from was that they were at a local cemetery, and people are seeing them, swinging on the trees and this, that, and the other. So surely, I mean, they thought there's a zoo down there, right? Maybe they escaped from the zoo. No, the zoo had all their monkeys. They had all their chimps. So where'd these come from? Nobody knows. Nobody ever caught them. But I mean, reports were coming in by the dozens. Who knows who they were? You're not allowed to own chimps in Ohio.
mhm.
So it could have been somebody that did own them. They somehow got out and they rounded them up and put them back before anybody could find them. Or my theory about the Enfield horror and specifically, and you kind of mentioned it when you talked about the Mount Vernon thing, is that these are devil monkeys, which we did a whole show about over on Monster Radio, which is something that people tend to see. I mean, one of the signature moves of these devil monkeys are these like huge leaps that they take. They can cover a lot of ground just jumping, which is odd to me. They seem kind of like a kangaroo mixed with a mixed with like a baboon type of animal. And they're very weird. They're very strange creatures. But they've been seen all around the entire country. And I think that I really didn't make that connection until I did the research for this episode, but I think that's what this is. I think it is unidentified. I mean, we haven't caught a devil monkey yet, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm looking. I had never when it said that I didn't really take the time to look into it, but now that I'm looking at it right now, and definitely something for our listeners to spend a couple minutes digging into because it's there are no large apes supposedly in North America. You're right. There are monkeys in Florida, but they're not native to Florida. They just kind of got released and the population boomed. Um, so there really shouldn't be any kind of ape in America if you
No.
look at standard zoological terms. So whenever you get sightings, they got to be coming from something. Either people are making this shit up, or there's something out there that we don't have a beat on.
Right. And I mean, again, let's go back to the fact that like the sheriff was like pissed off and
Right.
threatened this man's life. Did not want him to talk about it. Well, maybe that's because he owns exotic animals or he knows someone that does, and this was their pet and he didn't want them to get in trouble. Cops are crooked. We know. We've been seeing that happen all week, this week especially. But no, we're not talking about it. Don't no, we're not talking about it.
Talking about what?
Not talking about how bad cops are. Everybody already knows. So I mean, maybe that's why he was so aggressive about this guy not talking about it because he knew who that animal belonged to, and he was trying to cover for a buddy.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you have, you talk about the sheriff's reaction in that case, and there's a couple ways to look at it. Like you said, maybe he was covering for somebody. Maybe he just didn't want to have to fucking,
Work.
I would, yeah, exactly. I would have to assume that his job as a small town sheriff is pretty much, he's probably not solving a whole lot of murders. He's spending most of his time maybe catching people speeding through town or, you know, breaking up domestic disputes or something like that, or chasing around kids. And
Sure.
now there's like a bona fide monster on the loose, and you got people showing up and reporters showing up from out of town, putting the spotlight on you and your community and making you do your fucking job. Like I would want that to end as quickly as possible too. Especially if it was causing a panic within the community. You know, you got people that are living in relative isolation, and somebody says there's a monster outside, and if there's enough of a story there for people to kind of start to believe it, think about what that'll do to a small town community 80 years ago. Think about
Yeah.
the level of panic and hysteria that can create, and
Right.
tension. And think about you're the sheriff. You are the representative of law and order in that vicinity. People look at you and say, "Well, you got to go catch it, sheriff." And you're like, "Fuck, I'm not a monster hunter." You
Yeah.
know, this is a job for Pat O'Sullivan. So it's like I can appreciate him trying to squash the story if for no other reason than he just wanted everything to go back to normal. I don't necessarily think that like the feds put him up to it or something, or the
Right.
Illuminati or some shit. It doesn't have to be that colorful of an explanation. Not saying that your idea is wrong, is that he knew some exotic Tiger Joe type character that one of their baboons escaped or something and he was covering for a buddy. That might be true too. But I think he'll kill it just for the sake of killing it so he can go back to drinking his coffee and donuts and, you know, doing jack shit all day.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get why he had such a strong reaction to this thing. That's very weird, but I don't think that it is suspicious in a conspiracy type of way. I don't think that he was trying to cover anything otherworldly. And some people do think that this thing that they saw was some type of alien or something. And I mean, I guess it could be. To me, it sounds very much like some type of animal of some sort. I don't. I mean, it didn't do anything particularly supernatural except for clearing 50 feet with 3 jumps. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. But like, I don't know. I mean, is it really that crazy? You're talking it's 5 foot tall. I mean, can kangaroos do that? I really don't know.
Yeah, and then I think you have to you have to look at distances too. Like if you, I don't know. I don't know if I would, if something jumped away from me, I don't know if I could tell how far it was. I don't know if I know 50 feet from 20 feet when you're talking about something, a monster jumping in the dark. Um,
It says
it's
red
weird.
kangaroos can their bounding gait allows them to cover 25 feet in a single leap. So
You
that's
kind
not a
of want,
stretch.
yeah. And whenever you get like one of these more or less one off monster encounters, right? It's like, okay, so is there just one of these things running around? Like they're not breeding. Like where's its parents? Where was its babies? Or was it just somehow this one materialized in this one part of the country for this one period of time and that was it? How'd it get there? Where'd it come from? Where'd it go? Right? Why did a handful of people see it on one night? You know, and it's just the more you look at it, it kind of tends to be less and less believable. And that's why I feel like we only, for me at least, I have a tendency to put more stock into creatures that are repeatedly seen by multiple people in multiple locations, because that tends to lend itself to the existence of some kind of lost race or lost creature or something, right? A cryptid. Okay. Um, and this story doesn't really have that vibe to it. I mean, did it land on a ship and then come out and fuck around for a couple days and then fly away?
Right. And then it left.
Or did it
Yeah.
did it stumble through a portal and then banged around on people's houses looking for food or water and then just died and then coyotes ate it?
I
You
mean, it was
know?
there for at least a month, whatever it was. I mean, so it was, it had a little bit of time
Yeah.
to fuck around. Um, eventually the sightings just kind of died out and people just kind of stopped talking about it and it fell into obscurity, where weirdos like you keep the story alive. So, you
Like
know,
me, don't hang this on me. You came up with
not you, I mean like the listeners, viewers
Oh, I
like you,
gotcha.
yeah,
Viewers like
right.
you. Yes.
Right, right, right. So, and what does that mean exactly? I don't know. I've got my own theories about why these things might be sighted in like chunks. Um, I think it's because that a lot of these creatures move a lot. I don't think they tend to stay in one area because they can't. Because we would catch them. Not and not just that, just because of the ecosystem in the area. I mean, it doesn't make sense for something like, let's just say it's a double monkey. Okay, let's say it's some type of ape, and if you're talking about a 5 foot ape, that's still a ton of calories. I mean, you think of something like Bigfoot. Huh, that's even more calories that these things have to consume. They
Right.
can't stay in one area, or they would continuously kill off the ecosystem in all the areas that they live at, and eventually they would die. I don't think it's a thought that they have, but I think it's a natural instinct for things like for these giant apes to be on the move. I think it makes sense for them because they've been doing that forever and it works. So I could buy that this is some type of cryptid, that it did come in the area for some time and then it moved along once it wasn't caught. Or someone caught it because it was someone's pet and it's something explainable, right? Or you're right, it just died, that got eaten by a coyote. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, you're also supposing that every encounter with that this creature or these creatures have ever had with a human being has been reported. Let
Exactly.
me
Well, that's true.
let me
Yeah.
let me put forth a hypothetical question to you and the audience. Is there anything that happened to you that you've never told anyone about?
Oh, for
Have you
sure.
have you
Yeah.
ever done something that nobody knows about? Of course you have.
Right.
So who's to say that there wasn't some traveling fucking spoon salesman, on his way to Cape Girardeau, Missouri, that came across one of these things one night, and fucking had an encounter with it, and then shook himself off, went about his life, and never told anyone about it, and it never wound up on a website, and Lauren Coleman never heard about it, John Keel never wrote about it, and no one ever did a
Right.
podcast about it.
Right.
Think about that in terms of the world that we live in. The reports that we have and the stories that we tell are only the ones that have been recounted and the ones that have been, if you, just to bring it full circle, look at the what we were talking about with the O'Hare stuff. Why does this guy get all the stories and people like me and you don't? Because
Yeah.
some people keep their fucking mouth shut. Because some people, if this guy is to be believed, then, maybe not everybody goes and tells everyone that'll listen what the fuck happened to them. Not
Yeah.
everyone calls 911 when they get a knock on the door in the middle of the night and they open up and there's a fucking monster there.
Well, no, because you try to reason it away, and
Yeah,
so, I mean, yeah, I think this stuff goes gravely underreported.
right. So
I
how can
agree with that.
what percentage of mankind's encounters with the unknown do we really have documented and available on, to be found via Google or on Wikipedia or whatever? You know what I
Right.
mean? Probably who we don't even know. We can't even put forth a number. We can't even conceptualize. We don't know. So the fact that there's only a handful of reports of encounters with beings that match the Enfield horror, you know, obviously if there was a great deal more, it would lend more credibility to the story. But there could be stuff that we don't even know about.
But there are more if you say that the Enfield Horror, that the phantom kangaroos, and the devil monkeys are the same creature, then there's a lot more.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I get it.
And so, I mean, if we were, I preach this a lot, but some people don't have like that outside of the box thinking where they realize that the creature being reported is the same fucking creature as this creature. They just slap a name on it and call it Batman or whatever. So,
Right.
and that's how it goes. And that's unfortunate that it is that way. But, there's also obscure sightings where people are like, I don't know what I saw, so this is how I'm gonna describe it because that's what I know. And then that just goes into its own category off somewhere. So I mean, again, I agree. How many reports actually went underreported, especially with the sheriff that was mad and threatening people not to talk about it anymore in that tiny town? Probably a lot of them. And then what about the surrounding areas were people seeing it in the surrounding areas? Well, probably, but we just don't know. I think that something definitely happened here. I can't tell you what, but I think that this is not obscure. It's not like Valiant Thor, right? It's not like here's these crazy evangelists that are preaching crazy shit and they can't even get their story straight. No, this actually seems legitimate to me personally. So that's what I think. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I'll buy it. I like your devil monkey explanation. I'll sign off on it. New canon. There we
Yeah,
go.
I like it too.
Put it on a t-shirt.
I'm gonna read more into it because I'm curious. Just because the description of it sounded so much like the devil monkeys, and I had never. I mean, it's like I said, we had just done that devil monkey episode over on Monster Radio. I'd never even thought about the Enfield horror, but that's because also, like I said, I was assuming that the Enfield horror was something more supernatural. Now I don't think so. I think it was definitely something flesh and blood, and I think that people were seeing something,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not seeing it in that area now, but other people across the country are seeing that thing in different areas, and they're just calling it something else. So
Yeah.
that's my takeaway. Anything else we didn't talk about the Enfield horror, Pato?
No, not that I can think of.
I can't think of anything either. Okay, well, then I guess this wraps up this episode. What do you guys think about the Enfield horror? Have you seen something that you've never told anybody about? Call us at 773-59-WEIRD.
And tell us. Have us be the break your silence
Break
after
your
after decades of suppression.
Please.
Yes.
Please do.
77359 weird.
It's a safe place to do it. You don't even have to leave your name. I won't call you back on the phone number. It's fine. Just call us and tell us about it, and we'll talk about it here. So, all right, guys. Well, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.